Yes. With that being said, I'd like to start us off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I'm going to do a roll call. Casey Barney. Here. Lee Sharps.
Here.
Kathleen DeWolf.
Here.
And I am Harold Lamus, and I am here. Do we have any public comments this evening, Charlie?
Jane might have one.
Yeah. You want to go beginning or the end, or?
I can go beginning if you want. Whatever works for you guys. You want to do your minutes first?
Yeah, we'll do our minutes first. Okay. For our minutes, we have minutes of the 19th of February. Everybody get a chance to look those over?
Yep. You want me
Everybody?
to go, Kathleen?
I didn't find anything.
Okay.
Well, you have the floor then.
Oh, sorry,
What'd you
Charlie.
find?
It's all right.
Okay, page 1, line 45, after it says enter non-public, if we could just add, no decisions or votes were made in that non-public.
Oh, okay.
Page 2, line 10, where it says eliminate the crosswalk, it should say possible elimination of the crosswalk at the end of Gordon Street.
Well, it does say changes suggestions, so that.
Yeah, I know, but I think it should say possible elimination, just to clarify it. And then it says too close, T-O-O, close to the crosswalk in
Oh,
front
correct.
of the common man, or consolidate the two. Just so if people read it, it doesn't sound like we're taking that out and just leaving the one.
Well, that was their DOT.
Oh, that was their recommendation?
yes, it was,
from
yeah.
So we
DOT.
shouldn't add to
Yeah,
it?
that's
No,
not
no,
necessary.
no.
That's DOT.
This isn't this wasn't the final, this was.
Okay.
This is the draft.
It's too close to.
The TOO, too close.
Yeah, too close.
Yes.
And line 20, it should just say completed by March 21st and advertise for bids, not take out the word and.
Okay.
Right.
Line 31, it should
Oh.
say various towns have different sets with an S on the end of it.
Okay.
Line 33, to clarify building inspector position, if it could say in front of appropriation, say offset the pay appropriation. And page 3, line 31. Just to change the sentence, it starts, other topics discussed. It should say, other topics discussed were the adverse effects on roads due to the current road conditions.
What line?
31, it should say, other topics
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
discussed adverse effects on town equipment and emergency response time due to current road conditions, or adverse current road conditions.
Adverse effects.
On town equipment and emergency response time due to current road conditions. Line 36, it should, after for the purchase of a new Dodge Ram pickup truck, just insert the word of. And I only have 10 more things on the back page.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. Line 14, Board of Selectmen read a letter of recognition to be sent to an Ashland resident. If we could please include her name.
Well, that's a good idea. Was it Amy?
I don't remember her first name. Ullman?
No. Yeah, yes, was it Amy?
Ulrich?
Ulrichson.
Ulrichson,
Ulrichson.
right. We can look it up, but I think we should add her name.
That's a good idea, yeah. I have Amy in my head, but I could be completely wrong.
On line 16, it's a little confusing. If we could just change it to Selectman Sharps requested a consensus of the board to be the point person to the Electric Commission concerning solar projects between the commission and the select board. I can write that out for you after if you want, Charlie.
No, you can say it again. To be the point
Okay.
person.
To the Electric Commission concerning solar projects between the commission and the select board.
Anything else, Lee?
Yeah, 2 more. Sorry.
It's all good.
19, to clarify too, instead of consider adopting selectmen rules, it should say consider abridging or concising, consider abridging selectmen rules of process and procedures for the public, and to take the word out later, and to have the policy on the town website.
Got it.
Okay, and the last one is line 24, after Vice Chairman would like to continue working for the 4th of July committee. The board thanked him for that, and also for his consistent attendance as ex officio to the budget committee during his 3-year term. And I think that's it.
Okay, we'll make up Charlie's all set. With that
All
being
set.
said, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the 19th.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No? 4-0. Okay, moving on. New business. Charlie, do we have any new business this evening?
No, but I do have a bunch of selectmen items. Let's go over.
Okay.
That came up since Friday.
Okay.
That things. You can go to Jane first. if you
Okay.
like.
Okay, Jane.
Well, first of all, thanks for letting me speak tonight. And I want you to know, I'm not here to keep fueling any controversy. I really want to try to resolve and to follow up on things so that the public as a whole, especially when it's recorded, will know how we followed through on some of the things from the February 4th meeting. I did revise the annual report as requested by the board and sent it to Charlie. All the remaining minutes, all of the minutes of the 150, I forwarded to Mardine, so they're posted on the site. Also, I did a follow-up and went through the emails. One of the things that came up was that the board had not been invited to the ceremony of the 150th, and I did discover 2 emails. There was a June 5th one and a July 19th, which I did follow up after the last meeting to send to you, where you were specifically invited. The other thing, on the Heritage Commission. It was indicated that the Board of Selectmen have no authority over the Heritage Commission. However, I did go back to confirm where I got the information that they did. And it turns out that pursuant to 274, 44B, and actually I'll give you guys both regulations. Those are the 2 RSAs, if you want to pass those around. That says any monies, says the Heritage Commission has the power to receive gifts of money and property, which would be fundraisers, subject to the approval of the Board of Selectmen and the town. So you do have the right to approve anything when it's a fundraiser, if it's not an appropriation. And then it also says, under 274-44D, that all funds raised by the Heritage Commission shall be placed in a heritage fund. They don't have the authority to release them directly to another organization like the AARA. I can show you one of them. This is the one under D, and it's H. Talks about Board of Selectmen approval if it's a fundraiser. And mostly I just wanted you to have this information. I know
They
you,
were not accepted in the name of the city or the town.
excuse me? Subject to the approval of the
No.
Board of Selectmen of
Gifts
the
of
town.
money or property if we, in the name of the city or the town. Nothing was received in the name of the city or town of Ashland.
They have the right to, the commission has the right to receive gifts or money, but they did receive it as the Heritage Commission of the town of Ashland. There's no authority for the Heritage Commission to raise money without Board of Selectmen approval. Appropriation money they can spend on their own, and once you've approved. So I don't expect any answer tonight. I just wanted you to have this information because I know you're looking at what the Board of Selectmen has for authority. So I thought you should have this explored by your legal counsel, because this is the information that I was given.
Okay.
And again, perhaps too in the future, that they be advised that they're not supposed to give money direct. When they have fundraisers, it's supposed to go into the Heritage Fund that the treasurer has, not be dispersed to another organization, like the AARA.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Kathy?
No, because I thought I thought Katie came in front of the board.
She came to announce it, but it was never a vote or approval made by the Board of Selectmen in all the minutes that I went through.
Yeah.
It was presented.
I see here that we have, there's strong points for both sides here, but I think moving forward, definitely need to find a way to deal with this so that it doesn't happen again.
Exactly. And again, I don't expect an answer from you tonight.
Right,
Just
I
giving you
understand.
information.
This is the problem with events.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
exactly.
I guess I would look at it, to be devil's advocate, I'd look at it here where it says under 674:44D, it says money may be expended from such fund by the Heritage Commission for its purposes. Well, the purpose was the 150th. So there's something on leaning towards the way that the BOS was thinking, and there's also something that's leaning towards the way that you were
Except it
thinking.
didn't go into the Heritage Fund. So they didn't expend it that way. That's the problem. They spent it directly.
I
It
think
never passed through the fund.
I think the best bet or the best answer, I know you're not expecting an answer,
No,
but
I know.
I looked through this, honestly, I looked through this, and I looked through our warrants this year, okay? And I think we had the argument last time around, or the conversation last time around, that the monies could not be expended without the town vote anywho, if they did have to be dealt with the way that we expected them to have to be dealt with. And I was looking at Article 19, okay? And just think about this. I know you have a lot of people that you know, and a lot of constituents of your own, where it says to change the purpose to the buildings, maintenance, and grounds.
Right.
Grounds. So had this been in place, say, last year, or if this gets voted in another week and a day, then you could come to this sitting board and say, hey, listen, those funds that went back in the general fund, the $1,138, wouldn't it be great if we could put it towards the park and rec?
And we could have done
Well-
it.
And you could.
And
Well,
we,
the
no, we
other-
could have done it in January as a warrant article.
Right, but what I'm saying is,
No,
the way
he
things
said you
are,
would need a warrant article is what he
right,
said.
but the way that things are written
If it
now are
passes.
current
If it
19,
passes.
if it passes.
Right, for another
That
year.
is something that could benefit you, and you wouldn't have to wait until it goes back to
Well, my
town
other
vote.
question is too, and that's a great point, Harold, because that was the other question I had, is our original intention was to do some commemorative monument or, because we talked about Riverwalk, but it sounds like that has too many regulations or something, so we gave up on that. But like at the playground, we were going to do a granite bench with the logo on it and put the names of the, is that something we can still do? Because that was part of the celebration. That's not, the reason there was an issue with that money was because it went to another organization. It wasn't being used as part of the celebration.
Charlie, do you have any
So
follow-up
again,
on
I
that?
don't expect an answer tonight. That's just
Right.
thinking that's something that maybe you could present to legal counsel to see if that's something that can still be done, rather than having it wait there. Because that would be part of, from the get-go, when you look at like all our agendas, and every time I came to one of your meetings, I talked about what we were planning for a permanent monument. We talked about the granite bench a number of times when I came to your meetings. So I think that might be something within the parameters of what we had already intended to spend it for. So again, I don't expect an answer tonight. I
Right.
was thinking I
Well,
would,
thank you for the clarity.
yeah, because I think that would really help if we could use it for something like that. The other question I had is on the souvenirs. Is there any specific provision that is there any public notice or anything that has to be done for the steps that need to be taken to transfer that ownership? Because there is quite a value there.
No,
I don't think there is.
No.
no.
So you can just take personal property with no procedure?
What do you mean personal property?
All the souvenirs.
Well, the property of the town. Who else,
But they were unexpected.
who else property would it be? Besides the town?
Well, that's the problem, is it's kind of in a dead zone. It's like the money, I don't know, I'm just
I
asking.
don't know, I thought council was, when we read our legal
Yeah.
opinion, I thought it was pretty clear.
He
said-
spelled it out. It
Yeah.
was,
Well, that's the other
town
question
property.
too. Did you resend the
Yes.
information on how we
We're waiting
set
to
the
hear
checking
back.
account? You
We're
haven't
waiting.
heard back, or?
No.
No, okay. So we're still waiting to hear that to clarify specifically the cap, okay.
Yeah, we'll mail that
So when the vote
response.
is, when the warrant article is done next year then, so that will be a warrant article that the Board of Selectmen will have to do? Because there's nobody else that has authority to do it then? Because you own the items, is that what you're
Well,
saying?
it could go by
It could go by
petition.
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 But that, who would want to do that? I mean,
You?
but I don't know that that would be,
I don't know, yeah.
I mean, the assets are gonna be sitting in the town office, right? I mean,
Well, someone could ask us from the audience if we wanted to.
Consider it, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then
Bring
we discuss it.
rather than the selectmen, okay.
Yeah, we'd have to discuss it and
Because
then we
I'm
vote.
concerned about
And then we
the
would
ownership
vote.
of those assets, that's my concern. As to whether a petition, do they have the authority to do that, or is there a special procedure the selectmen have to do to dispose of them? That's my question.
Yeah, I mean.
It's a unique situation.
Right, well, someone can come forward with a petition article that says,
Dispose of these
sell,
assets.
yes, no.
All right. Do you think
They
it's,
could
maybe I should get legal
vote to
opinion on it.
throw it away if they wanted to. It's whatever the town wants to do.
I don't know, those ones from 1968 sell like hotcakes on the eBay. I
know?
wouldn't be throwing them away.
Yeah.
All right, so there's no specific
I have that.
procedure there, okay. So I just assume everything, and so I'll just get them up. So I'll just wait to hear from the second opinion, or the last opinion from the attorney, and then I'll talk with you about bringing everything up.
Which one's that? Now I'm confused.
You sent a
You
copy
said
of
you're
the
waiting
check.
for any answer.
You sent a
from-
copy of the check and how we opened up the checking
Oh, that
account,
one. Oh,
asking
okay.
him,
Yeah.
this
Yep.
is how they held the funds,
Yep.
does that make a difference?
Yep.
Could you
Yep.
forward me the question that you sent him by any chance?
Well, I just sent him what you said.
Oh, all
Does this
right.
change your opinion?
Oh, perfect, perfect.
You
All right.
sent me all your stuff, and I just said, does this change the initial opinion that we received?
Yeah,
That
we'll
we
send
read,
the response
that
when
we
get
read
it.
a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Right, okay. And then the first opinion you got is not something you're gonna release then?
We released
did
it.
release
it. We did release it.
No, the opinion you gave me, he says, this is an update of my prior opinion, and I never got the prior opinion. The one you read at the
I don't
meeting
know.
says, this is an update of my prior opinion.
We weren't able to discuss that because you didn't attend our meeting. Your
I'm
group,
confused.
your group. It was a question about how do we handle unanticipated funds, which was going to be a point
That's
of
right.
discussion. We finalized
Right,
the
but
one.
what I asked Charlie was if I could have the prior opinion that he was basing his second opinion on for our records.
That was it. How do we handle unanticipated
Yeah.
funds?
But
Because,
he gave you an opinion on that.
and it was the second opinion. That was the query, and it was answered by what was given to you.
Yeah.
So when he says my prior opinion, based on my prior opinion, he didn't give a prior opinion, he only gave one opinion.
Which,
Right.
yes.
Well, I think he clarified.
He clarified what it was,
Yeah,
how
what
it
it was.
fell under,
Yeah.
it was unanticipated funds.
Yeah.
And then you wanted more information, and then he extrapolated on
Yeah.
that.
All right. So all right, so there is no other opinion.
That's how we perceived it. It was, how do we handle potential unanticipated funds? Which
Okay.
would
I
have
was
then
just
been,
trying to get all the
which we
opinions
would
in
have
my
had,
file.
which we would have had by our, I believe it was January 7th meeting, which your group chose not to attend after we requested you
Okay.
to attend.
You're- I'm just asking
No,
about his
and I'm telling you
opinions. I just
why
want
it wasn't discussed, because there was
Right.
no one here to discuss it with.
Right, which I understand, but can we get a copy of it?
We have to discuss that. We can't,
All right,
we can't, we have to discuss legal opinions in a non-public.
okay. All right.
And
That
some
was-
things don't have to be disclosed.
Even though it affects the 150 committee?
That's client,
Attorney-client
The
privilege.
privilege.
Board has to vote to
the vote, we
release
have to vote as a group.
legal opinion.
Okay. And then discussion or
legal
deliberation
opinion.
on that opinion has to be done in public?
No, it does not.
No.
Not even if it involves a special group?
No.
Okay, all right. That's all I have. Thank you so much.
Charlie, you have some select board items?
Yeah, couple things. We've got to think about having the public hearing for the building permit fees.
Oh, yeah.
The finance officer, HR coordinator position, the application deadline was March 1st. I'm not sure if any of the selectmen would like to sit in on that, on the interview process.
How many?
Kathleen.
Yeah,
How many did we
I
get?
volunteered because I'm available during the day, where Charlie would probably be interviewing people.
How many do we have?
6.
6?
That's good, that's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Last
I
time we had
could,
2.
Yeah.
I'll go. You come here.
You too? Because thinking if I could do, well, it's probably going to be next week, to be honest with you. We have the audit on Wednesday. I just sent the selectmen an email that the audit is starting on Wednesday, the 6th.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm here all week, and we have the
Yeah.
election on Tuesday, so that would be Tuesday and Wednesday out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the next thing I had is the reminder that the vote is Tuesday, March 12th. The polls open at 8 o'clock, close at 7. The selectmen are not required to be there all day.
Oh.
Yay,
Well,
yay.
yeah, but you are at the end of the day, though.
Yeah,
Well,
we know.
You
that's-
definitely
Yeah.
have to be there at the end of
That's
the
a
day.
lot easier to take than sitting there all day, yeah.
However, maybe we should ask Patsy if she wants help, like she did the last time, and we could maybe split up a couple hours here and
Well,
there.
you know,
Yeah.
that's,
If she wants us to sit in,
Yeah.
you know, for checking people in and out.
yeah,
and
as
that.
ballot clerks,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be up to her to relay that
Yeah,
information.
we could ask whoever wants to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Casey works during the day, and I
Mhm.
don't know if Harold
And-
wants
yeah,
any last.
yeah.
Oh, I'll
Harris,
be there,
yeah.
you know me, I'm out there.
Yeah.
Mr. Garrulous.
Who?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got an interest for the feasibility grant from an architect in Concord.
I know, that's
Uh,
fantastic.
Yep. Yeah. I reached out to the CDFA folks and said we were kind of in a bind. I think they kind of reached out to someone for us.
Could you back up maybe and tell the public exactly what you're talking about, what it's for?
Okay, so we, as everyone may or may not know, is we have this is the LW Packard Mill, or Ashland Properties building. And we've done phase 1 and phase 2 feasibility, or excuse me, brownfield study on this building. And the next steps are sort of what do we do? And so we got awarded a $12,000 feasibility grant to sort of help us determine what are the best use for the building. And the architects will take us to that next step. After that, I don't really have any updates for the board. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know what to expect.
Okay.
Your guess is as good as mine.
It's still
No.
Wait and
great.
see, it's
Still
better than we
great.
were
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do know
Interest.
it's not a lot of money for the grant. CDFA says they have limited ways of increasing that grant per state law, but the expectations are that the firm that gets it, it might lead to more for them with the project as the project develops, because they would be at the start of it and they'll get the understanding of it, and it makes sense for them to continue on with whatever the project might
Right.
be next. So.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Old business? No?
Quiet before the storm.
Yeah, no? Okay.
Yeah.
Select board items, anyone got any select board items?
I do.
Okay.
I do, and mine's longer, so go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so.
I'll go last on the longest.
After the election next week and we reorganize, we'll have to remind all people who want to be appointed to boards, they have to fill out the new application, to be provided with a social media policy,
Yes,
and,
he's sworn in.
yep, be sworn in. And that includes 4th of July committee, because it's my understanding nobody was sworn in or given terms, and they have to follow the same protocol as other appointees.
Very good.
Okay?
That was it?
Yep.
Okay, I have a couple things.
Oh, yeah, I had election coverage, but Charlie took care of that.
Okay. But we might want to talk about splitting hours up if we do that, so that, casually split it up. Let's see, I have a couple,
spend the whole day there, aren't you?
a planning board meeting. But first I'd like to talk about a Squam Lakes watershed meeting, which was held, we were invited, municipal officials, in the 5 towns in the watershed were invited to attend a conference concerning build-out of the watershed, things like that, water quality, and Mardine and Susan from Planning Board and myself, and I was also a Select Board representative, went and represented our town. We were well represented out of the 5 towns. 5 towns in the watershed, for those who don't know, are Ashland, Holderness, Sandwich, Center Harbor, and Moultonborough, around both Little Squam Lake, Big Squam Lake, and the Squam River, which is in Ashland's watershed. It was held by Lakes Region Planning Commission, LRPC, which Ashland is a part of, and in partnership with the SLA, Squam Lakes Association, and also Holderness and Ashland Subcommittee members, Susan and myself are on that also, which is part of it. The presentation was on the future build-out of each town and the impact on the lake and water quality, as well as local land use practices and policies. So I wanted to give some interesting Ashland statistics I think are interesting. There are 2,210 acres in Ashland's watershed area. That's around Little Squam and the river. There's 1,331 total buildable acres, which is estimated to be actually 60% of that property, which is a lot. The total buildable area in the watershed is 1,331 acres, with 1,321 that are in the rural residential only, and just 10 that are in the Little Squam overlay. And 311 acres of that are already built. So most of that 1,020 acres in the rural and 1,041 in the Squam overlay are mainly private property. And there is some commercial, but that would be private property that they did this study on. In comparison, there's more than 5,000 buildable acres in Holderness in the watershed area and 2,500 acres in Sandwich. The report also states projected increases in our population growth will only average a 19% increase in the next 20 years, and there is basically no chance of a total build-out in any of these towns, including Ashland, for decades to come, at least 20 to 30 years. And this report is also on the SLA and on the LRPC websites, and there are hard copies available if anybody wants to ask a planning board member or myself to look at it, because it is interesting. In planning board news, we received a letter of interest by hopeful and potential buyers of Dairy Joy. We voted to extend for a year site plan approval for Sanctuary ATC to undertake construction and relocation of its business to Ashland within a year, as their plans have been held up, and that's going to be on at the end of Winter Street. Final approval was given to Shelley Randall for her yoga studio business on Owl Brook Road. Dr. Caitlin Morse, our land use assistant, and Lee Sharps attended an SLA Water Quality Advisory Committee meeting prior to that larger watershed meeting that I discussed earlier. We held a joint meeting with the Select Board, which is reflected in their minutes we already discussed, to increase building permit fees that have not been...
With the planning board.
Yeah, the planning board, that haven't been discussed since 2007. The board continues working on revisions to home occupation descriptions as per section 4.6 of the zoning ordinance. And I just want to reiterate again how much we need members on the planning board. It's, we only have a quorum of 3 right now, and one of them being the selectman ex officio. And it isn't fair to people who want to bring their plans to the planning board and bring in new projects to the town if we don't have a quorum, and it's not fair to the members either, because we can't go on vacations, or if someone becomes ill, because we would have to cancel a meeting because there's only 3 of us. So I'm just reiterating again that I wish someone or ones could come forward and join the committee, because it's an important town committee. Thanks. That's it.
I'm a member of PERLAC, and
Yes.
we hadn't met since November. So we had a lengthy, very lengthy meeting last week.
The Penny River Local Advisory Committee.
Yeah. That there's some activity being considered by the Plymouth Water and Sewer District. It appears they are also noticing salt in their municipal wells, just as we are, because of the proximity to the highway, and they're considering drilling an auxiliary well. It came up about, yeah, that was quite interesting, that up Northern Pass, and that the two people, Barry Draper and Max Stamp, and with Gretchen Draper, who represented PERLAC at the SEC meetings. Right now, they said the only thing they are aware of, that they might be requested to enter into a joinder, but they're prepared to testify if needed as a
Oh.
standalone, like they did during the first
good.
proceeding.
Okay,
So
they were
they're-
good.
They're prepared for that, but they have not heard anything.
Okay,
And
that's concerning Northern Pass.
yeah, and still, it's very important to some members of PERLAC about the water testing. I'm not part of the water testing crew, but there's quite the team that goes out and draws all the samples for water testing. And they used to be able to have it tested in Plymouth, and I think now they had to run to Concord, so it's in flux who's managing the testing. I think before I joined, that somebody at Plymouth State was willing to do it, so they didn't have to bring it within 24 hours, which they have to for the testing to be accurate,
Right.
down to Concord. What was the other? Very interesting site review was done on property up at Owl's Nest that is a reminder how important steep slope ordinances are.
Oh, yes.
There's a house up there that I guess you basically walk out the back door and you
down
can
an
fall into,
embankment.
yep.
Yeah.
And they presented
I remember that
quite a
project.
plan to stabilize the banking, mind-boggling almost,
Mm-hmm.
because it's basically pure sand. So a reminder how, and Ashland does have steep slope ordinances
Yes.
to protect us from that type of building. So
Right.
this is not only an issue for the river quality, but the landowner who has quite a large home up there that basically is completely impacted by the loss of land, and it's going to be quite the process to try to stabilize the banking.
There's been a lot of
Yeah.
land that's been lost up there, also in Thornton, up
Yep.
by
Yeah.
exit 29,
Yeah.
the Avery property
Yeah,
there
'cause
lost a lot of land as well.
A lot of people don't realize that basically is pure sand.
Yeah, I
all
remember that
along
project
the
came up
big-
almost 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
so it still hasn't been resolved.
Wow.
Yeah.
We have quite a few properties
a
on
really
North
steep
Ashland Road with steep slopes as well.
Well, we have an ordinance, so you
Yeah.
can't build on steep slopes. Campton and Thornton, I don't believe they have one. No one at PERLAC could vouch that, had
They have
knowledge
one?
that they have one, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Good to know.
Anything else, Kathleen?
nope.
All right, I'll leave it. First, I'd like to thank the town of Ashland for allowing me to represent you for the last 3 years. Second, I'd also like to acknowledge these folks sitting on the board with me, and I'd like to thank you because it's been a pleasure to serve with you.
Oh, thanks, Howard.
I'd also like to thank someone who's not here. I'd like to thank Mr. Norman DeWolf, who inspired me to seek this position. As my term draws to an end, I would like to ask everyone to get out and vote on the 12th, because that is what inspired me to take this seat here. When I was growing up as a child, my grandfather was a selectman in Meredith, and he always told me, Harold, if you don't like something, you don't try to change it yourself, you have no reason to complain. Well, that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years, is trying to fix it.
Right.
So, if there's people out there in TV land that are looking to impact their town and looking to make things better, please sign up to be on a commission, a board, run to be elected, any way you can. Get involved. This is your town as well. The other thing that I'd like to bring up also is we didn't discuss too much in detail, but with our voter guide, I just wanted to remind everybody that the numbers have changed. You might have seen some signs around town with numbers changed. Couple that I'd like to bring to note to you folks, that I can speak to close to my heart. The Ashland Conservation Commission, that's number 25 now. I implore you folks, please vote to reduce that number. I know it sounds funny, I'm saying reduce the number, but that's just so that we can do our part and actually do our
Exist.
business and not be defunct, and protect your waterways and your environment for the generations that come forward after us. Secondly, I'd like to remind you of the Thompson Street project. Please think about that. I just went through all of the audits myself, all of the material for the infrastructure, just as like a parting browse. And we have clay water lines on that road that are 125 years old, and we have one telephone pole that is 4 years away from being a millennial. I mean, being a centurion. It's 96 years old, and it sits on the top of Thompson Street. These are things that we need to think about again, you know, protect the financial and the environmental heritage that we have here. I mean, we don't need any issues with our waterways. As we spoke, we were just wanting to protect them. Last but not least, that would be number 26, town manager. Think about it. Think about how you want your town. If there's things that you see up here that you don't like, that you like, let your voice be heard with your vote. You know, I mean, there's a lot of hubbub that you've heard around town. It's been a long time since we've had one. My personal opinion is, I think it would be a great way to ensure that our police chief gets paid more than the guy that changed the street light bulbs. But that's just my opinion. I think that those aren't really something that are generally even keel. I'm sorry if I brought you up, Tony, but you know, we all have an opinion to it. But it's close to my heart. I was the union negotiator last time around when we got our contract. And I can tell you that a manager would help you folks to get another contract down the road, because the way things are right now, there's no way to equal out that much of a disparity between pay in this town.
And we're going to miss you for that, because none of us have any experience on the
Well,
union
I
negotiation.
looked
I know.
at the numbers, you know, and you guys are going to have to think about that.
Yeah.
It was a hard line last time to get a contract, and
Yeah.
the townspeople were as much of getting that contract as myself and Mr. Steve Felton, because
Right.
the townspeople are the ones that voted it through. You know, we have to figure the balance between the power here and the power in the town hall, and we don't want to deal with anybody feeling like a petulant child, that they can just do whatever they want without the oversight of you. But you, the ratepayer and the taxpayer, need to make that decision.
And we have to give them the information so they can make the facts to
Correct.
make informed choices.
Correct, and I was
Yeah.
looking at the days growing short between now and the election. I know we spoke that we wanted to have another meeting with the whole Thompson Street and this project and that project, and I just saw the date counting down, and I said, you know what, maybe this is my chance to speak to it. Please, think long and hard about that, you know, think about the people out there, and just fairness and transparency, because that's what we all here are aiming for.
Yep.
So again, thank you for your time and allowing me here. I'd like to thank the citizens, the department heads, the town employees, and the folks that have held this seat here before me. It's truly been a pleasure serving this great community of Ashland. Thank you.
I would like, as the veteran board member, to formally thank Harold for his
Thank you.
3 years commitment, and especially his consistency on the Budget Committee, the 4th of July, Conservation Commission, and I'd like to give him a standing ovation.
Thank you.
And yes, I served on the
Thank you, Harold.
Conservation Commission with Harold. It was, we had a lot of work, that 3 people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Had to-
I was on that commission too.
But-
It's a good commission.
But during the whole SEC process, it was 3 of us that we did the work to become standalone interveners. We
I know
provided
you
that
did.
information, and
It was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. It can be done by 3 people. 5 would have been wonderful, but we did it with 3 because it was our duty to get
Right.
it done.
Well, you know, that struck a chord with me, and I hope to continue that fight if it ever comes back. It may not be in the same zip code, but got all the information in home and folders already. So
So you can, Mr. Draper lives in New Hampton.
Yeah.
You probably might be able to touch base with
And
him.
you've asked to be, continue on the 4th of July, which I
Yep.
think is fantastic.
Fill out an
I
application,
do have to,
though,
yeah, you might have to do a background search on me, you know? Public comment, anyone? Anyone? Tony?
I'd like to thank you for your service as well.
Thank you, Tony.
It's been a pleasure working with you, Harold. I know how thankless that job can be as a selectman, because I did serve
Oh, yeah.
a number of years ago as a selectman. It's a very tough job, juggling things around to make it all work, trying to make everybody happy, and it doesn't work that way.
That's
So
right.
thank you for your support.
Thank you.
To the police department, it's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Well, with that being said, I think we're going to enter into a non-public session, RSA 91A:3Q1. Can I get a motion? L. I'm sorry.
The form's
L.
over there.
I'll make that
It's under,
motion.
it's under, I'll second it. There it is.
Okay.
Aye.
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 Okay. And opposed?